I have this question here, which is a multiple response type of question. It has 3 correct answers and 2 incorrect answers. I have used the correct and incorrect layers to add check marks to each answer. These are static check marks. These are some PNGs I used on both the correct and incorrect layers, so they are duplicated. Now, the problem is that my client currently wants me to change this shuffle answers property from none to shuffle answers, which means that each time this question will be loaded, the answers will have a random order. For example, the hydroelectric power, which is the last answer currently, might be the first if this option is active. And they all will be jumbled like that, so their order will be random. Now, this presents me with a problem, which is that on the correct and incorrect layers, these being static, if the order of the answer changes, for example, instead of solar, as I said, we have hydroelectric, that's okay because this is still correct. But if instead of solar we have oil, this check mark will show the oil answer as being correct, which is not what I want. So what can I do to solve this? Well, there are several possible solutions. The first one being I can delete these from the correct and incorrect layers. So I'm going to delete these from here. And I'm going to Control X and cut these to my base layer. Now, I'm going to mark them as invisible for now. So I'm just going to order it in the order they appear in. So like this. There we go. And now I will hide them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to untick this box right here. I'm going to cut this and paste it into my normal state of this answer. So I'm going to Control V at here. Now, even though it doesn't show up on these states, for some reason, Storyline has this check mark appear even in the selected state, even in the hover state. So I'm going to publish this just so you can see what I mean. So I'm going to take this as being correct, and I'm going to publish the project. So my project has now been published. And as you can see here, the order of the answers is random. So solar was the first answer, and now it's the second one. And you can see here the green check mark appears to be cut in half almost. And if I click this, you can see that the green check mark still appears in the selected state and in the hover state. So even though in Storyline it shows up only under normal state. So let's see why this happens. I'm going to untick this back because I want my changes not to affect the rest of the states. You'll see why in a minute. And I'm going to send this box with all the answers. I'm going to extend it to the left so it encompasses my tick mark as well. And now I'm going to give them a bit of room here, just so my check mark can be, let me just zoom in a bit. So my check mark is within the bounds of this box which contains all of my answers. I have unticked them so as not to mess, for example, the length of my states. I didn't want to have it be this length in the normal state and a different length in the down or selected states. Everything seems fine. I'm just going to tick them back so I know what the correct answers are. So I'm going to just reveal the second one. I'm going to copy it as well. I'm going to cut and paste this into the normal state. Done. I'm going to do the same for the third one. I'm going to paste into the normal state. I'm going to untick this and repeat basically the same process. Untick this. I'm going to take this back, and I want the last check mark. I'm going to cut and paste it into the normal state. and click done and tick it back. So far, so good. Now, if we publish now, we can see that the check marks appear in the right place for the right answer. So these are incorrect, these are correct. Everything seems to work, our states work. The check marks show up even though they shouldn't. I'm gonna click submit, nothing happens right now, of course. I'm gonna go back into my storyline and see how we can hide these, because we basically need to hide them and only unhide them when the correct and incorrect layers are triggered. So I'm gonna insert a shape right here, just so I can cover the entire length of the answer box, just like this. And I could make it, for example, let's make it black so we can see it, but you can make it, of course, you can make it the color of the background. I'm gonna give this a name, so I'm gonna call it answer hideout. And on the correct layer, I'm gonna set a new trigger to change the state of the answer hideout, set its state to hidden once the timeline starts on this layer, and I'm gonna Control-C and copy this trigger into the incorrect layer as well. And now all should work as intended. Let's see if I publish this. So you can see now I've published this, and I'm gonna click solar power because this was the correct answer. This was the first one here. I'm gonna click wind and hydroelectric. I'm gonna submit. And if I submit, the correct and incorrect answers are revealed. Now, of course, I could go the extra step. And if I go back into my storyline, if I go into the incorrect layer, or rather the correct layer, if I go into the correct layer, I can make these, let me just hide this for a bit. I can make these red check marks for the incorrect answers disappear once we are on the correct layer. So let's make that happen. I'm gonna make a new trigger, change the state of, and let's see which of the elements is it. So not checkbox. Oh, you see, we can't even do it because the check marks don't appear here like our answer hideout does. So what can we do about this? Well, the answer is we're gonna have to use some GSAP to do this, to hide these two. I'm gonna click on them. I'm gonna click on the normal state of this answer, for example. I'm gonna double click on the normal, and I'm gonna click its show in media library. So you can see this is the name of our ticks. Now here in the alt text, I'm gonna give them a name of tick_incorrect, and I'm gonna click apply to all. This will apply to all of the check marks which are red. And I'm gonna do the same for the green one. So I'm gonna tick_correct. I'm gonna apply them to everything. I'm gonna close this. And now, for example, if I go ahead and click done here, and I select the solar power answer and click on normal and click on this one and check its accessibility property, I'm gonna have tick correct here. Now, why am I doing this? It's because I'm gonna use GSAP, which is a JavaScript library. I'm gonna create a JavaScript trigger, and I'm gonna have to select all of these check marks and hide them. And to do that, I'm gonna need their accessibility property. So here we go. When we come to the correct layer, I'm gonna click here and click on create an execute JavaScript trigger. So where is it? There we go. Create an execute JavaScript trigger when the timeline starts. I'm gonna click OK. And then I'm gonna click here on the red part and edit my JavaScript. So I'm gonna use the default code editor we have in Storyline for now. But just know that you can use any code editor, and it's recommended that you do so. So I'm gonna select my check marks like this. So var incorrect checkmark equals, and I'm gonna just say document dot query selector all written just like this. So with the S in uppercase and with the A in uppercase, it's very important that you keep this in camel case. And I'm going to open and close a parenthesis, and I'm going to put a semicolon and go into the parentheses and write one set of quotes, two set of quotes, go into the middle of the set of quotes, put one square bracket and close it, go into the middle of this and put here the following value. So data ACC text equals, and I'm going to open a single quote and I'm going to put in tick underscore incorrect. Now, what does this do? This will search the document for all of the elements which have the data accessibility text of tick incorrect. So just as we named them in our previous step. Now, what we're going to do is write GSAP.set, because we're going to use the set function which sets the state of an object immediately to another state. And I'm going to affect the incorrect check mark, which is our variable we declared right here. It's important that you get the same name. You can even copy and paste it. Okay. I'm going to put a comma. I'm going to open and close a squiggly bracket. And I'm going to say opacity dot 0. So I'm going to set its opacity to 0. This is all I need. I'm going to click OK. Now, if I publish, I'm going to first re-enable this so we don't see our answers. I'm going to publish. And now we have the following interaction. I'm going to click solar, hydroelectric, and wind. I'm going to click submit. And as you can see, the red check marks no longer appear when I have a correct answer. If I refresh this and select oil and solar, for example, and click submit, you can see that the red check marks appear again because we are on the incorrect layer. If we are on the correct layer, they do not appear. There we go. This is perfect, but we can take this one step further. So for example, instead of using this element, I'm just gonna click delete here. And I'm gonna copy this trigger from here. I'm gonna delete this trigger which affected our answer hideout. Same here on the incorrect layer. And from the correct layer, I'm just gonna copy this trigger to the base layer. And I am going to also select the correct check marks. So I'm gonna declare a new variable var correct check mark equals document. So I'm just gonna copy this so I don't have to write it all over again. I'm just gonna copy it, and in here, instead of tick incorrect, I'm just gonna put in tick correct. And we are gonna copy this line as well, paste it here, and I'm gonna set the value for the correct check mark to 0 as well. So when the timeline starts on this slide, all of these will be hidden. We don't even need our answer hideout shape. Let's publish and see what we have. So there you go. I started the timeline on the slide and our check marks are invisible. Now, if I take these, let's go to the incorrect layer. I'm going to click submit. Something's wrong. Nothing is showing right here. That's because we need to re-enable them once we are on the layers. So here in the correct layer, I'm going to edit the JavaScript code. And I'm also gonna, I could have copied the line from the other trigger, but I'm gonna just redo it again. So I'm gonna select the tick correct, all the elements which have the correct tick, or correct check mark. I'm gonna copy this line again and paste it. And I'm gonna set the correct check mark to a value of 1. Okay, I'm gonna copy all of this, hit OK, go to my, in fact, I'm gonna hit Control-C here, go to my incorrect layer, paste it in here, and on my incorrect layer, I want the incorrect check mark and the correct check mark to show up. So I'm going to set them both to a opacity value of 1. Click OK. Now if I publish, everything should go as expected. So no check marks appear here. I'm going to go to the incorrect layer. Everything appears. Great. Now I'm going to restart this. If I put in all the correct answers, so solar, hydroelectric, and wind energy, click submit, only the correct ticks answer. Only the correct ticks appear. Now, how do I apply this for several questions you might ask? Do I need to always put in the triggers like this? Well, actually, no, because we use the same name for our ticks, the same accessibility name, we can even put this, I'm going to copy this, and go to my slide master. And my slide master will have, let me go in here. I can put this right on my slide master. So when a question slide comes up, we're going to execute this JavaScript, which will select all the incorrect and correct check marks, provided they have the names of tick incorrect and tick correct set as their accessibility properties. I'm going to close this and it will hide them. Now, if I go to the correct and incorrect layers, I'm going to Control-C and go to View Feedback Master. I'm going to search for the incorrect feedback used by one slide in my case here. So what did I copy? Sorry, I copied the correct one. Okay, I'm going to go to the correct feedback layer. I'm going to copy this here and go to the incorrect layer, Control-C. I'm going to copy this here into the incorrect layout. Good. Now I can delete these from here. I'm going to delete the JavaScript triggers from my slide. And if I click on Publish, you see that even though I don't have the triggers on my slide, I have them on the Feedback Master and on the Slide Master. So if I click this for the incorrect layer, everything works as normal because our trigger is also present on the incorrect layer. And now we will see that our trigger is also in our correct layer on our Feedback Master. There we go. So this is how you can add a instant feedback, a check mark for each answer when you have the shuffle answers option ticked. So yeah, the only thing that might prove challenging is if you have several questions here and you have to manually do this size readjustment for each one and manually put in the check marks on each normal state. So what I suggest you do is start out with one question, then duplicate the slide so you already have the answer with the check mark in its normal state, like so.